This is a photograph I took in Sutton Park last week, and I'm going to use this for today's painting subject. So before I start, I'm just going to quickly whiz through the materials. These are my Cotman watercolours. They're just squeezed out and allowed to dry on the palettes, always in the same place, so you know instinctively where they are. Then we've got ultramarine, lemon yellow, Payne's grey, alizarin crimson, raw sienna, burnt umber and light red. Brushes, 99% I use the large 45mm Ron Ranson Hague brush. Get them on eBay or Amazon, or if you're struggling to find them in the shops. I think Hobbycraft might do them as well, but as I was saying, I don't think I saw them last time I was in there. Someone asked me the other day, where'd you get the water jar from? This is from the works. They're only a couple of quid, and they've got a nice lip on them, so when you got the brush in there, all this water coming off it, use that just to take a lot of the excess off. The rest of it take off on the tea-towel like that, so you end up with a nice, quickly you can clean and dry your brush. There's a tissue there for dabbing out clouds and all that sort of stuff. It's 15 by 11 Fabriano, £130 cold press paper. Works out about 33p a sheet from artdiscount.co.uk. It's not the greatest paper in the world, it's just cheap. That's why I use it. So there's all my kit. So the first thing that strikes you looking at this is look at all those trees and brown. How on earth are you going to paint that? Well, I'll show you a quick way where you don't have to faff around with detail. You can just get on with it and just do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is using the big Ron Ranson Hague brush. Just wet the paper all over. This is just clean water. And then what that will do is help everything just go nice and soft. And I'm going to start off. What I want to try and do is create some sort of sense of light running through the scene. Real sort of moody, atmospheric type stuff. I prefer doing that to realism, detail, all that sort of stuff. It's not really my cup of tea. I'm more mood and atmosphere. I'll clean the brush and I'm going to go ultramarine, and this will just be the sort of the blue sky you can see between the trees. This will be a bit of water reflected down below. Something like that. And then I'm going to add a bit of, no need to clean the brush, all those colours together with a bit of lemon yellow. And then what I'm going to do, this is just like a sort of mass of green. In the woods. Try and bear it slightly, a bit more blue in that. Bit of Payne's grey in there, get it really dark. And then I can see just in the distance, there's just a hint of some trees right far away. I'm just going to bang them in. Just a hint. That's all I do for that. And then just keep watching for these sort of pools of water that gather at the bottom of the paper. I'm just soaking them up with a brush. Next, all the trees in the distance, I'm just going to simulate those. First, just want a bit of water on the palette like so. I'm going to take the little rigger brush, and a bit of brown, a bit of blue. and then these are all those distant trees, and this will sort of soften off, and you might only just notice them in the finished painting, but it's these little sort of extra details that make all the difference. I'm just flicking them up, and then there's water there, so I'm also pulling down reflections as well, trying to keep them straight. A lot of this will be painted over, so you'll only see a little bit of it. A bit more up there. A few more on the other side. Just trees everywhere. Reflections down in the water. Trying to keep my arms straight. I keep bending these reflections. And then there's also, so that's the upward trunks, also a few little twigs and stuff coming off sideways. You can only just see them because the paper's so wet. Sometimes I'll even just sign my name like that, it just looks like a load of twigs. A few reflections down the bottom. And what I'm going to do, you can see how the paper stretched a little bit, so I'm just going to pull it tight, just so it's flat against the plywood. Keeping an eye on all that water gathering at the bottom of the page. So again, just run your brush along the bottom, it just soaks it all up. Now, there's a few like trees, I don't know what you call them, but they have the sort of lighter coloured trunks. There aren't so many in this photograph. I've seen them in other photographs I've used recently, so I might just make them up just to add a bit of variation to the trees. So these ones are just sort of, I'm using the egg, you don't have to use the egg brush for these if you want. You can use a thinner brush. And I'm just, all I'm doing is just absorbing the paint into the brush, just so that it creates that sort of light effect. Don't forget the reflections down below. I'm not quite sure how far the water, how much of this foreground the water's going to take up, but if it gets painted over, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll stick another one over here. Don't forget the reflection down below. One more over here, I think, and then I'll go on to the darker branches. That's all that needs. Right, and so as the paper's drying, the paint's going on thicker and thicker and thicker. So now I'll go into some burnt umber, a bit of ultramarine. So we've done the far distant tree trunks, and they've softened off because the paper's still wet, so they're sort of hazy, blurry sort of look. Makes them look far away. So as the paint goes on thicker and the paper starts to dry, you can see how the trunks, that one's a bit too blue. A bit more brown in this. Just going blue and brown basically, just to create a sort of dark tree trunk colour. Again, doing the reflections, sort of going up like that, down there like that. Still quite a few of these tree trunks. Don't do them all in nice vertical parallel lines, they'll look a bit naff. You know, crisscross a few. And don't forget the reflections. It just helps bring your water to life. So again, it's just mixes of brown and blue. Big one going up there. Now moving over to the left hand side, you can see See how this is going on thicker now, see how the distant ones are being pushed right back and these ones are coming right to the foreground. You can use your bigger brush or a smaller brush for this, you don't have to use the hake. I'm just doing, it's just quicker basically. But you just have to make sure you've got a real good chisel edge to it. You don't want to put them on too thick. I'm saving the real thick foreground trunks for, like I said, the foreground basically, right down the bottom there. Just popping in these reflections. Back to the little rigger brush, and I'm just going to pop a few little branches on there. Some are coming off the page, you know, it could be a tree right over there, and all over the place. And then as your brush goes almost dry, you can then go into the sort of sensitive areas, you know, like this right down the middle where there's, I'm sort of trying to keep it free, just to suggest something, some sort of light or something. But it helps to just have just something going on there, like just very, very faint. And because there's hardly any paint now on the brush, I can whiz it around the page. I know I'm not going to do too much damage if I go too crazy. I mean, if you look at any one individual trunk, they're not the greatest trees in the world. I just think I have the patience to sit there painting trees and leaves. You can just see there's a sort of mass. If I just go like that, it just looks like just a load of twigs and branches and whatnot. Don't forget the reflections down below. Remember, I can do a bit of dry brushwork just to put a few leaves on these, so you won't see all of this. Some of it will be covered over. So what I'm going to do next, and I'm going to put this in quite light. You start to do the ground. The reason it's going to be light is so that then when I put the shadows over, the shadows will stand out better. So I'm just going to take just a little bit of, maybe just a dab of lemon yellow, a bit of raw sienna, and then sort of land starts somewhere up there like that, comes down. So you've got distant trees there, and then that's all. That's what goes round here like that. And this bit of land comes down in front of it and a sort of. So I think in the past, one of the problems I had, I think I was putting this in too dark. And then the problem you got then is, once it's on dark, you can't paint anything over the top of it. Especially things like shadows, and shadows are so important to help create that sense of light. So all I'm doing really is sort of defining where the land is. So I'm just constantly referring to the photograph, and you can see where I'm painting over those reflections I've done, where the land is. You see, it's just sort of rubbing it out as you're going along. It just disappears. So the land, it comes down there, something like that. And then there's some big trunks on this side, so I'm going to worry too much about that. And this land sort of comes across like that. And then it's a shame to paint over some of these reflections really. So I'm just trying to imagine that there's water mixed in there, so you still see the reflections in the little bits of water, sort of waterlogged land there. It sort of comes round there. So that's sort of the lay of the land. So next thing I'm going to do, make sure this paper's flat. You can stretch the paper before you start to paint. It's entirely up to you. I'll just stretch it as I'm going along. I mean, when I switch the camera on, you see literally everything. I don't do any preparation whatsoever. So what I'm going to do next is put on some bits of foliage on those trees. It was, when was it? It was sort of November, early December, so a lot of the trees have shed the leaves now, so there's a lot of bare branches, but you can see the odd bit of green in the scene. So all I've done is just clean the brush, scuffed it up as I'm drying it on this tea towel, and then I'm just giving into a bit of raw sienna, a little bit of lemon yellow, and let's sort of start somewhere else. I'm just very lightly starting somewhere like that. And what leaves are left on the trees can show up along here. You have to put up that noise from the leaves. I don't even know what's causing it. Reload the brush. There. It's had a bit of blue to it. Okay, it's gone a bit darker there. But don't just block it in en masse. A dry brush will help you prevent that. Remember, you want to be able to see through the trees. It's so easy to just block it straight in, so you can't see anything. You've painted over everything you've done. Make sure your brush is dry. And then if it's too dry and you're not getting any paint, then just add just a little bit at a time. But if it's too wet to start off with, you'll just block it all over and you won't see anything. You'll just paint over everything you've done. I did the thing, what I've been forgetting to do. Don't forget the reflections. Reflections everywhere. And because this brush is dry, I know I can dance around the page, knowing I'm not just going to paint over everything I've already done. I'm just going to add a bit of blue, a bit of yellow, add a bit of Payne's grey, darken it up a bit. Really darken it. I'm just being very careful not to paint over everything so you can still see what's going on in the background. A bit dark over there. The reflections, that'll help really bring the water to life a bit. So that'll do now for the sort of middle ground trees. So what I'm going to do now is the foreground stuff. Now it's going in dark, so there's no need to clean the brush. All I'm going to do is just dip the tips in, bring all the hairs together, and I'm just going to get a bit of burnt umber. Just a touch more water, that was maybe just a bit too much. I'll get away with it, that's enough. Generally, basically, just enough water, just to hold all the hairs together, that's all you don't need any more than that. You can see, I've got no water swishing around on the paddock. I can only pad it upside down, there's nothing dripping off. All the water I need is in the brush. Right then, big trunks now. So I've got one. Now you can see again, we had the sort of furthest stuff, furthest trees done while it was at the same time as the sky, really. You can see how light they are, and then these middle ground ones, a bit darker, a bit stronger, and now these foreground ones are going to go in even thicker. You can see again how strong that is now. Now that's pushing everything way back. As I'm doing now, I'm just popping in these reflections. So there's one there, and we've got another one up there somewhere. There's hardly any, not much water there, so I'm not going to worry too much about the reflections. We've got some foreground ones up there. There's one there, another bit shooting off it like that. Well, that's over the water, so I'm going to just pop that reflection in. Another one up there. And just reflection in. Let's just stick just a thin one, going the other way. Like I say, you don't want them all evenly spaced and parallel because it just looks artificial. I'll pop that one going that way and then just pop that reflection in, something like that. And I think there's something, another one up there giving off that direction. Yeah, and then we'll just something like that. Right, now on the left, I'll put those two in. Let's just stick another one up there like that. That's sort of going behind that one. Hardly any water there. I'm going to worry too much. Just got the odd bit of, just a few little branches coming off them. See something coming down from the top up there. So we got up there. Right, let's stick these. We've got a big, this sort of foreground on the left hand side. This is a monster one. This is so that sort of giving up there like that. And there's some, it's going right off the page, that one. Right off the page, coming right down. So that's pretty much all the tree trunks in there. Just going to block in a bit more foliage. So the foliage for these foreground trees. So again, just scuff the brush up. Get a bit of bit of raw sienna, bit of lemon yellow. Put a bit down there on the land. Just define this land a bit better. Maybe it might help if there's a few stones and things just to help define these banks. So I've got that bank here. See, there's a few dollops of raw sienna coming up. That works quite nicely. What's that? I'm just scraping a few little. I mean, there aren't many in the photo, so I'm going to go too mad. But a few rocks on the riverbank always look quite nice. Obviously got a few reflections as well. Little reflections down there. I'm gonna just pop a few on the other side as well. Anything I'm not keen on, I'm just painting straight over. Bits and pieces in this foreground. So, just make sure that's flat. And then, what I might do then is pop a few shadows in. And let's see. So I can finish this without using the hairdryer. Because I know the noise gets on a few people's nerves. Right, shadow. Let's make a shadowy colour. So I'm just going to bit of brown, bit of red, bit of blue. No real science to this colour. I'm just going generally dark, leaning towards blue. Now the reference photo has given me no help whatsoever with regard shadows, because again it was another dull day, as it generally is in Sutton Park in November. So I'm going to have to make it up. So first thing I've got to decide is, where's the light coming from? So if we pretend that the sun's up here somewhere. In fact, I'm going to say that the sun's there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the line of the trees. So I'm sort of coming down there like that, and that's casting a shadow, something like that, and then just following it again. On this one, that shadow's coming down there like that. Following that line. Down that one round the back. That's coming across, didn't need to do that. There like that. side. So I'm following this shadowy line, and that's popping over, that's going into the water. And like that. Just following these shadow lines. Like I was saying before, the light, that's why I put that for that sort of middle ground in light, so that you can see that the shadows stand out better. So, focal points, we need a focal point. Now generally like a little man walking his dog. So I'm trying to get a sense of scale out now. So where should we put him? I'm going to stick him. Where would he work? Just out in the open up here somewhere, I think. I don't want to put him right slap bang in the middle. Let's just pop him up there. So we've got his legs in. This is the bloke. There's his legs, little head, and then just in front of him there, a little dog's head, and then little legs, and a little tail. And again, remember, sort of shadows coming down in here. I'm just using the same on the brush, and then a little dog shadow. And it just gives a little focal point there in the distance. Let's pop a little bird in somewhere. I'm going to stick a bird up there, just about seen amongst the trees. And then last but not least, I'm going to stick my name in a corner somewhere down there, I think. I'm going to call that one finished. So I'm going to stick a mount on it and see what it looks like. So here we have our mounted painting. So if we compare it to the photograph, I think I've sort of unintentionally opened it out and made it look a bit more grand than it is. Sort of made the scene look a lot bigger. But then we've got artistic license to do that as painters. What I've done, and I feared this when I was doing the sky, I think I put it all on a bit too thick. I would prefer the sort of lighter area, just to sort of make it. Can you see? Sort of got blue and then raw sienna. It doesn't really flow properly. I'd prefer a lighter, more raw sienna colour in the central section. But the first problem was how on earth are you going to paint all these trees and branches and trunks are all over the place? So I did it in essentially 3 steps, starting with, if you remember, when the sky was still wet, used the rigger brush just to flick up these real ones that now look really distant and faint light in tone, putting these reflections down at the same time all the way along. Weren't quite sure where the land and the water were going to meet, so it doesn't matter. Paint straight over any reflections that you've done in the land section, not a problem. Then the second sort of layer with these ones here, these sort of middle ground ones, done a little bit stronger. Paper was a bit drier, so it went on a bit thicker. These ones here, that's the sort of middle ground trees. And then see in the photograph, your foreground ones, you've got this big monster here on the left. These ones here. There's a couple here which actually I didn't bother putting these ones in. I just thought they'd get in the way. So these foreground ones, again, big, thick. Well, it was sort of burnt umber and ultramarine mixes put on with the height brush, real thick. And then all these foreground ones put in really dark, sort of silhouetted against the light that's coming through the middle of the scene. And then that's what I was saying at the time. Started shaping the land. I put it in nice and light using this raw sienna with a touch of lemon yellow, so that these shadows would then show up better. As you imagine, I imagine the sun was about here, so the shadows sort of follow the line either side, working the way across the ground here. If you what also helps is creating that sense of light, scraping in these rocks. So you sort of scrape it in, you sort of automatically get a darker section on the other side, which helps again create that sense of light coming through the scene. But I forgot to mention it at the time. I don't know if some may have noticed that I was doing it sort of left-handed. I am right-handed. I was doing these rocks left-handed. Reason being, as you can imagine, the light's coming from down here, so we need the right-hand side of these rocks in light and the darker area, shadowy area, on the left. That's why I did it the other way with my left hand to create that effect. And then I think finally in the scene we needed a focal point, which is where the man and his little dog come into play. That's my little painting of Sutton Park. I hope you like that. Thanks for watching. Keep practicing. Any questions, please ask. And I'll see you again soon.